Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Eggs for Dessert. We're your co hosts, Wuwu the dog, musician, and gaming enthusiast.
Jinx the Mouse, illustrator, and Final Fantasy XIV despiser.
And we're here to cover the latest in video game news, as well as discuss gaming opinions and hot takes that may or may not make you cry. We upload new episodes every Saturday at 12 p.m. EST. So let's get right into it with some gaming news. Jinx, what do you got?
All right, so we're starting off with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. We have a couple of things coming out as well. Pokemon Arceus,
Arceus? I
Arceus.
believe
This is
it's
something
Arceus.
Arceus. Yeah, I think it's Arceus as well, because it's that legendary
Hmm.
Pokemon. And then we have our PlayStation Showcase stuff. So we can go ahead and start with Pokemon because that's what I'm most excited about. This game has been very hated upon lately, ever since its release of both trailers, and it's because the quality of these trailers aren't the best. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care because this game, first of all, we have to keep in mind this game is also definitely most likely not finished. It's not supposed to even be released for like another 7 months. So I don't even care that the quality of this game won't even be that good. If it actually releases in the same quality that they release these trailers in, because Pokemon for me is a very narrative driven game, okay? We started out with two fucking pixels on a Game Boy, all
That
right?
is true.
On a Game Boy. Yeah, like Pokemon and this game is going back to its roots of being a very narrative game because we've seen in the past these past couple games that they released, Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, the narrative sucks. The story sucks. To be fair, Sun and Moon was a very cute story, but the gameplay prohibited that story from being really, really good. And I literally probably only played like an hour of that game because it forces you into like this weird tutorial thing that you have to finish in order to get off the first island. And I just couldn't force myself to do it because they were like, it was hand holding to the max. I have never seen any Pokemon game do this, and I'm really glad they didn't continue it in Sword and Shield.
So
But
I really am not that familiar with Pokemon as a whole. I did play it on the Game Boy. That's where we
right.
all came from, I'm sure, or at least most of us. But what about like people like me who just think that like every Pokemon game is the same, they do nothing new, it's like Madden, it's like Call of Duty.
I feel like it's definitely one of those. I used to think the same way too. My first Pokemon game was actually Pokemon Yellow, and I didn't really care too much for it, just because I feel like the storyline wasn't there for me. I'm a very storyline driven person, but I gave Pokemon a second chance when X and Y came out, and that for me was enough. Oh my gosh, that game was everything every Pokemon
Yeah,
game
that's
could
kind
ever
of a
be and
big
more.
jump in generation too. So you
Giant jump in
definitely had to
generations.
cool down for a while.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that there's an appreciation that comes for Pokemon when you play the newer generations versus the older generations because I have gone back and played the older games, even though that wasn't something that I played during its time. But I definitely enjoyed Pokemon for what it was, and I'm really glad that the new Pokemon is 100% going back to its narrative roots. I genuinely think the storyline's going to be awesome too because it starts with before Pokemon and humans were even friendly with each other. So I'm super excited for the progression of that storyline and the end game, and I really want to know how that story ends because super awesome. I'm not a fan though of them reusing starters from different gens. That threw me off a little bit because they've got Oshawott, Rowlet, and Cyndaquil. So I don't really know who I would be picking honestly because I chose Rowlet for whatever game Rowlet came out for. I forgot. I think it was X. But
Well, yeah, they
whatever, I
definitely
think.
could have maybe, came up with a new generation like they always do. I don't get why they had to,
Right.
reuse starters. They have so much to work for. They don't
Mhm.
even stick with animals anymore, which is kind of disappointing. I will say that,
Right.
the game, aside from being super blurry, the graphics in the game are
Mhm.
actually extremely well done. It looks kind of similar to. It's like a more colorful Breath of the Wild to me, is what
Yeah.
it reminds me of.
Mhm. I think that, for me, it's not really more of like they could have made new starters for this. I'm just really confused on the pick of starters. Like they had a lot of choices, and reusing starters is just kind of like why?
Yeah.
What happened? Why'd you do that? What was the thinking there? But I'm having a feeling it definitely has something to do with the narrative that they're trying to portray in this game. So,
Well, it still looks really cool. I do like how it seems to be more of a open world style of Pokemon game. Um, Pokemon to me, even though, you do have the freedom to go places, it still seemed kind of linear to me, but I'm pretty ignorant, so
mhm.
I could be wrong. But, to me, this new game looks like a big change from Pokemon's of the past. So that looks really cool.
Yeah, I think it does look as well, and I'm really excited for it. Definitely buying it when it comes out. So next on the list, we actually have our PlayStation Showcase. Go right on ahead, Woo.
Yeah, so PlayStation Showcase happened this past week, and we got a few announcements from there. We're not going to cover everything that they showed, but a few of the big ones. We have a new Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake that was teased. So, Knights of the Old Republic was a Star Wars RPG that was released on the original Xbox, and it was kind of like a precursor to the Mass Effect series in terms of having choices that affect the outcome of the story. So we only got a teaser for that, so nothing too much to report on there. But the second game that I wanted to go over was the new God of War game, God of War Ragnarok. We got a pretty lengthy gameplay trailer for that game, and I thought it was really cool because the past God of War game, I wasn't really too big on it because, I looked at it and I was like, why is Kratos caring for this random kid? Who is this kid? It's like his son or something. But the second thing
Mhm.
was, he didn't have his classic weapon, the chainsword things. He had this little
Mm,
axe that he could like throw like a boomerang, and
right.
I really wasn't into it. But
Mm,
I will say that the new one, they showed a lot of weapon variety right off the bat. So, looking forward to that one when it comes out. And I might try the first one. So, the last game that I wanted to go over from the PlayStation Showcase is a new Spider Man game that has been also teased. I'm not huge on Marvel in general, but I do really like Spider Man. So, in this trailer, they showed off the graphics that were captured on PlayStation 5, quote unquote. We have Miles and we have Peter Parker. Looks like they're going to be working together in some capacity. But the main thing that they showed in this game that I'm excited for, at the very end, Venom walks towards the screen. This was also a very short trailer, so we didn't really have too much to go on, but it looks like Venom is going to be a big focus on the game, and that's always cool because Venom's a pretty awesome character.
right. I actually watched a little bit of the showcase, kind of scrubbed a little bit more through it than I would say watch, but that Spider-Man that Spider-Man portion of the showcase looks amazing. It actually is making me a little bit excited. I played a little bit of the previous Spider-Man game that came out, the Miles
Hmm.
one on PS5. I had a chance to play that for a little bit, and that was really cool. Definitely one of those games where it stays true to the Spider-Man. style of gameplay, kind of like that hack and slash, button mashing, a little bit, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it was fun, but for me, like long term wise, I don't think I could sit there and play that game for hours. So I'm really hoping that this new Spider-Man game kind of gives a little bit more oomph in terms of gameplay
I
wise.
think it will. And,
But you know, mhm.
honestly, I think that Venom is going to carry that game because, you know,
So hard.
I played the one that came out on the PS4. Um, I think it
Mhm.
was just called Spider-Man. But, that game was pretty fun. It had the nice open world, it had the web swinging, free roam that you should really come to expect in a Spider Man game at this point. But the
Right.
villains left some to be desired. There was a lot of like kind of filler esque stuff in my opinion. So,
Mhm.
but filler with Venom, I won't complain about that personally.
Right. For sure. I definitely think this Spider-Man game is something to be hype about. That trailer was super short. I think the showcase left a lot to be desired, honestly, in terms of there were a lot of games that I felt like had a lot of screen time that shouldn't have. Like that first one. I don't even know what the name of it is, but it's basically this girl looks like it's in this it takes place in like an alien world and she's wearing very skimpy armor, or she's very tight armor, and she's kind of like kicking ass. That went on for quite a while, and I was like, all right, what's next? So a lot of no
Yeah,
names, a lot of no
I'm a
names in
little
this
tired of seeing
showcase.
developers just default to, oh, we have a female protagonist. Well, gotta put her in, her underwear and send her out to battle. I'm not really huge on
Well,
that personally.
I am. I'm pretty
I
big on
mean,
that,
it's
honestly. That I
nice.
am a sucker for some female characters in very skimpy outfits kicking ass. But she's giving me like Bayonetta vibes more. She's definitely a little bit more I know it doesn't seem like she has much personality, but couldn't really tell because she's very stone faced during the whole the whole
Oh,
scene. It's a pretty solid like 3 minutes of her just going through this world, not really any voice acting, which is a little strange. It's called Project Eve, so
do you mean like there's not going to be any voice acting in like the whole game
no,
or
no, no, there
just
was
not in
no
the
voice
trailer?
acting in the
Oh,
trailer. There was
okay.
none in the trailer, which, can't she's not speaking. There's not much I can
Yeah,
gather from her. She has no voice lines,
right.
so.
So those are all the games from the PlayStation Showcase that I want to talk about. But the next thing I want to talk about is a topic that is near and dear to my heart right now. There is a fighting game coming out. I'm a big fighting game enthusiast. I really enjoy like Street Fighter, pretty much all of them. But just fighting games in general. If there's a fighting game coming out, I odds are I'm going to, be right on that.
She's a specialist
A
in fighting
specialist.
games.
So there is a fighting game coming out on September 30th. You can pre order it on console right now. If you're on Steam, you can't
Yeah.
pre order it, unfortunately, but you can add it to your wish list. And this,
You're gonna be like the biggest advocate for
I
this game. Like they're gonna have zero promotions other than you talking about
I
Melty Blood.
already am the biggest advocate for this game in my circle. And so this game is called Melty Blood Type Lumina. So, Melty Blood is an old fighting game that came out in 2004. It was a spin off to the visual novel Tsukihime, which came out in 2000. So, they came out with a remake of Tsukihime, which came out in Japan last month in August. And so, we get a new Tsukihime spin off fighting game in the form of a new Melty Blood. So, one of the things that's been happening with this game is we have a lot of Guilty Gear players, Blaze Blue players, Street Fighter players, people who are used to flashiness in their fighting games coming on and saying that Multi Blood characters have no drip.
And it's true.
It's not true. I make the case that Drip is beyond skin deep.
Okay.
You know, on the surface, Melty Blood characters are pretty ordinary looking. We have a high school student who wears a high school uniform, he has glasses. We have a maid, we have another maid, we have the protagonist's sister who is in a schoolgirl uniform.
Which does
You know,
absolutely nothing. If you think about these characters, all right, so if you place these characters next to, we've talked about this before, Persona 5, Persona 4 characters,
right.
right? You can make the assumption, oh well, they're of school people, they go to school, but they can't have drip. They go to school. Like what more do you want from a school uniform? No, you can have drip on a school uniform. If you look at Persona 4, granted it's not a fighting game in the traditional sense of like a 2D fighting game,
Although they do
but these
also have a
characters, as
fighting
someone,
game spin-off. I just want to point that out.
right, as someone who has an art background and understanding character appeal, you can have drip while doing an archetype, all right? You can have drip while your character stays to or attributes to a character type, right? In Persona 4, we've got like the freaking bear. Come on, look at that bear. When you think of a bear, you think of like a brown little bear, right? No, Teddy slaps. Teddy's the cutest little thing, and he has hella drip. His color scheme's amazing. Everything in Melty Blood for me feels super drab. It's all the same color palettes. I mean, granted, yes, if you go obviously if you go past the surface level, these characters do have really cool abilities. But I feel like drip is only skin deep. It's only what you can
Okay,
see on the
but let's
surface.
think about
JoJo,
this.
hella
Hold on,
drip.
before you start getting into JoJo, let's just think about this. You just
We're
brought up
thinking,
Persona. It's a game everyone loves.
right,
It's an RPG
yes,
that has a fighting game spin-off with no design
right.
changes, might I add. So, what did you bring up when you talked about Persona? You brought up the bear? The bear?
Okay, the characters, well, I don't know any of the characters' names, but all of the characters, they're wearing school
Exactly,
uniforms,
and
but they
that
have
is
drip.
my
They have
point.
drip.
So,
But there's a difference. There's a difference because they all have different colored school uniforms, right? All in Melty Blood, they're all
no,
blue.
no, no.
Every single one of them they straight up color picked. They color picked from the main character and then was like, yeah, let me just shift this down in the hue
First of
bar
all,
just a little bit,
first
little
of
less
all,
saturation.
first of all,
Everything in that game is a dark blue or gray. The colors in Persona 4 pop. All right, you got yellows, you got greens, you got bright reds. These characters are bold. They have buttons and bedazzled stuff, and you've got this one character who has a red headband with red glasses and a red, school uniform and her yellow tie. You got another one who's in all black, but her button up shirt is open underneath. She's also got blue glasses. She's got a really cool hat.
okay,
Another girl, she's
so
got
let's talk
pigtails
about
and,
let's talk
and
about glasses
ties.
for a second. So, what
All
is
right.
drip and persona? We have buttons, we have bedazzles, we have
We have color scheme. We have
color scheme.
character appeal. We have
Let me tell you,
personality.
first of all, there is a character that also goes to the protagonist's school. The protagonist's name is Shiki Tono, so I'll call him Shiki from now on. But and one of the main characters that also goes to Shiki's school wears yellow. Boom. Drip
Oh
right there.
wow,
And
incredible. All of the other
secondly,
characters in this game.
she transforms her school uniform into a nun outfit because she's secretly working with the church to kill vampires. That
And it's
is
still
so drip.
blue. And it's still blue. It is not drip. I promise you, these are the most basic looking characters. Like, if you took the drip out of Toho, this is what these characters look like. Like, if you stripped the Toho characters of their personalities, colors, and basically what makes Toho super likable, this is what this
First
game
of
brings
all,
out. Now, I am
first of
really
all,
excited to play the.
first of all, let me just start off by saying nobody in
Go ahead.
2021 knows what Toho is anymore. I'm just gonna say it.
All right,
I'm
you
just
know
gonna
what?
say it.
That's a lie. That is a lie. You can't.
But
No,
let me
there's no
point
way.
out the fact. Let's go back to Shiki Tono. School uniform,
Hmm.
glasses, sounds a lot like Yu Narukami. What happens when Shiki Tono takes off the glasses, though? That's where the drip lies. Now we're getting below the lake surface.
The fact that he has to take off his glasses to use his 2020 vision or like 2020 vision is so fucking hilarious to me. Like who thought, you know what would see better if you take off your glasses?
But let me
Incredible.
tell you,
Are the glasses stopping him from that
they're not just for his
2020 vision?
glaucoma, they are for a reason, they have a purpose. Shikitono has a
Uh,
power that he has to hide from everybody, even himself. When Shikitono
God, the
takes
Clark
off
Kent,
his
the classic
glasses,
Clark Kent.
he sees
Uh-huh.
lines not just in the people, not just in the trees, but everything that exists. These lines, when he cuts through them, he's cutting through the very existence of the thing he is cutting, completely
First of
erasing
all,
them.
why is his knife a like 2-inch blade kitchen
Well,
knife?
he's a
Can
high
someone
school
explain this
student.
to
What
me?
kind of weapon do you want him to
So
have?
he just grabs what's closest. Is it
Exactly, which is like one of the most drippy things I've ever heard in my life.
drippy? That is not drippy. Something, something that would be much, much cooler for this character and would exceed his drip would be maybe some more buttons. He seems really
No, no, no.
uptight. He seems like he has a stick up his butt.
I have a
He's
vendetta. I have a
lame.
vendetta.
He looks like a
I have.
loser.
I take that back. I have a vendetta against characters with buttons because we got into this point where, in order to classify something as having drip, we have to put buttons and belts up to their eyeballs on them. They have to have white spiky hair. They have to wear a
Of
paper bag
course.
on their head.
No one wants to play something that they see all the time. It's really boring. I mean, like if you look at Guilty Gear has hella drip. All right, you've got characters with incredible abilities. You've got May, she rides on fucking dolphins. All right, her anchor is massive. It's 10 times her size, and she's like 2 feet tall. That's some drip. All right, they take the idea of like a stereotype or an archetype. They take an archetype and then they exaggerate certain details of that character and come up with a good color palette like Jacko. Jacko's fucking awesome. Jacko is so cool. She is one of the coolest puppet fighters that I've ever seen in my life, all right? I think her character design is really solid. She has a hell of a lot of drip,
So
all right? Melty Blood just
I'm
doesn't do
not
it for me.
saying that characters from other fighting games with belts to their eyeballs and earrings hanging to the floor, whatever the heck they do in Dragon Ball Z. I'm not saying that that's not drip. I'm just saying that in order to perceive drip in other characters that may not be as flashy, it's like standing on the lake. If you are standing on the lake surface, your feet are gonna get, a little wet, but you walk around for a minute and it's gone. There's no drip there. But when you get below the lake surface, then when you come out, you are dripping. And Shikitono and every Melty Blood character is full of that beneath the surface drip. I mean, come
These
on.
are one of those instances where you're not going to want to walk across a lake, so there's no way you can get beneath the surface drip if you're not going to even step on the lake.
I just want to end this by saying, step below the
Uh-huh.
lake on September 30th. See what happens.
Step below the lake.
Together
You
we
guys,
can
you guys
save
heard it here
Melty Blood.
first. Surprised it's even getting a revival. But okay, moving on. So games that I personally, as you think everyone should play Melty Blood,
Of
right?
course I do. That's going to be the best
I
fighting
feel
game.
like I feel like I feel like there's games that everyone has, a certain list of that they think everyone should play. I definitely fucking have that, all right? And I'm gonna tell you what they are. We're gonna start with a link between. These are games that I feel like were very underrated when they came out. Not a lot of people discussed these games or really didn't get much hype. Or the amount of talk that I wish they would have. I also might have not have been at the age that the community would even speak to. So
Oh, okay. That sounds a
so,
little
in
suspicious.
terms of yeah, so I didn't really have too many people to talk about these games
Okay.
with, but I'm gonna talk about them anyways because I feel like even today, now, people never really talk about these games when they talk about classics.
Alright,
So
these games
I
better
think,
be full of drip or
oh, full of
we're
drip,
gonna have a
full of drip.
problem. I'm just saying right now.
I'm telling you right now, there's nothing but drip in these games. All right. So the first one we're gonna start with is from the classic Legend of Zelda series, A Link Between Worlds. Now, this was a game that came out on the 3DS. It released for a couple of other systems and stuff, but I think A Link Between Worlds is one of the best Zelda games. And yes, I'm gonna be bold and I'm gonna say it. And the reason I say this is because it is a continuation of one of the really classics from SNES, A Link to the Past. This game, A Link Between Worlds, came out in 2013. It's a continuation of that Link to the Past. So if you like A Link to the Past, you're gonna
Didn't
fucking
A
love this
Link
game.
to
All
the
right?
Past come out in like the early 90s? That's a long time
Yeah, that's like
between.
yeah, it came out in 1991, and honestly, I was very surprised because I've played both, and I was very surprised for A Link Between Worlds to come out. And when that came out, I was what? I was like 14. I was actually probably younger than that, maybe like 13 or 12.
Somewhere
I was
around
super
there.
excited for this game. All right, I played the absolute fuck out of this game. Super cute storyline. Basically, it's your Link, you start this kind of starts early, you're a little bit younger. What's really cool about this game is it brings in mechanics that I've never played in any other Zelda game. There's these little cracks in the walls and you can stick onto the wall, right? And you go into these cracks and it brings you over to another world, another map. But basically, the storyline, you are Link. You are set out to restore the balance in the kingdom of Hyrule after Yuga captures Princess Zelda and puts her in a goddamn painting. So first, you have to grab the seven sages and then resurrect Ganon. So it's a really cool story. I definitely think the puzzles in this game are super awesome. It's not the hardest game ever, definitely a little bit easier in terms of puzzle design, but it's very open ended. I feel like the storyline in general, very good narrative. It's a bird's eye view type game. So I wasn't a fan of that at first. It kind of threw me off, but after a while, it kind of grew on me. But the side quests are super fun. There's this little like characters, kind of like the Koroks that you can pick up under things. They squeak,
That's really
and that's how
cute,
you know they're
actually.
near. So cute. Oh my goodness, that was probably my favorite edition of this game because I feel like this was the first Legend of Zelda game that I actually cared like it gave a shit about doing the side quest because I was old enough for me to be like, yeah, side quests. They're
Yeah,
pretty cool.
as a kid,
So
I never really paid too much attention to anything on the side. I did not have the attention span for that.
yeah, it's same. I didn't care for it until I was older, but definitely pretty solid game. I genuinely believe if you are a Legend of Zelda fan, this is a game you need to play. I give it a 9 out of 10. Very solid. It has a very high rating on GameStop. It is a 4.7 out of 5. So definitely call that a classic. We'll move on to Harvest Moon. Okay, Harvest Moon Tree of Tranquility. This came out on the Wii. This was a game that I came home every single day and played the absolute living fuck out of for a while. Um,
Yeah, I'm a fan of
so
the
this
Harvest Moon
game,
series.
oh yeah, for sure. If you're a big fan of simulators or role-playing games, I feel like this one is a really good, like it's a perfect combination of sandbox simulation and RPG. You've got a really cute little farm. Basically, you're just like this little farm boy, and It's pretty much what Stardew Valley is, but better. The graphics, I'm not sure if they've aged very well. This game came out in 2007, but I had a hell of a lot fun playing this game. It only came out on the Wii U, so I'm not sure. Like, you could probably find an emulator for this game, but it's so good. It is such a classic. The cows were really cute. The music to this game was, oh my gosh, so calming. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. I really did, because there is a main narrative to this game, which is weird because, typically in simulators, you don't have like a main storyline. So, it adds a couple of RPG elements, which is really fun. And what's really great about this one, unlike other Harvest Moon games, you can actually choose your spouse to work in your farm. I really, really I remembered wanting to marry the fuck out of this one girl. I don't remember her name, but
So what's that game called? Tree of Tranquility.
Tree of Tranquility,
Is
yeah.
Tree of Tranquility one of the games where you can like select between different characters to play as, or like different genders, or was that
Um,
just a
I
single?
don't
This is what you get.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember picking a gender, honestly. I'm assuming yes because I'm looking at the cover and you've got a male and a female. So I'm assuming you can choose between male or female. I don't remember picking a gender, but I very much obviously chose male if I was going to be. I had my eyes dead set on this one woman,
Oh,
so
okay. You know what? That's fair.
yeah, on this. Yeah. So, yeah, I give this game 11 out of 10. It's genuinely, if you like simulation games, if you like farming simulation, if you like Stardew, Animal Crossing, this is a really solid game. Even if you don't like those games, I feel like this is a game anyone can enjoy and pick up. It's one of those games you can, pick up, put down,
Yeah, Harvest Moon
and have fun.
is such a relaxing time.
Hmm.
The modern equivalent is obviously Stardew Valley. That's always just a fun game to pick up and, play for like an hour, then put it down, come back to it tomorrow. Just really
Right.
relaxing. So,
Yeah, Harvest Moon, definitely that's a good one. 11 out of 10 would definitely recommend for a lot of people. The next one I have on the list is actually not a very common game, again, that I don't ever really hear anyone talk about, is The Legend of Spyro: Dawn of the Dragon. Now, this game, oh man, the when the Spyro trilogy remake was announced, I was so excited because I was expecting this game to be in that trilogy, if I'm to be honest with you. And when it wasn't, I was devastated because this game, the oh man, the mechanics of this game, the storyline, the art style, I was absolutely blown away. So I played this game. It's the first co-op, I believe, Spyro game. And this game I played on my 360, I want to say. It came out for a couple of platforms: Wii, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, DS, and I believe it's on PC as well. So it's pretty accessible. This is an amazing game. It brings in a couple of mechanics that aren't in any of the Spyro games in terms of elementals, which is something that's always really cool. I do feel like some video games, if it's not utilized correctly, it can become a gimmick. Like that one game that came out, that was like a what's it called? Battle Royale. There was a Battle Royale that came out, and it was like the gimmick that they used, I guess, or the selling point was the fact that they use elementals, and you choose your elemental before you go into game,
oh, I know what game you're
and your
talking about.
elementals mix. Yeah, and that game flopped so hard because
That
I
game
feel
is
like they
really
focused so hard on
fun
the fact that it
too.
was elemental. What?
I played
Oh, I
it.
hated that
Oh
game.
no, you gotta try it again. That game is honestly so much
No.
fun.
I spent like 2 hours playing that game, and I was like, wow, this sucks. Um, but yeah, I think that done well, elementals as a mechanic in a game can be fun, and this game did it perfectly. Okay, so Spyro commands fire, electricity, ice, and earth, and Cinder controls poison, fire, wind, and power or shadow. and it's incredible. You can upgrade these moves along with these gems that you find in the game, kind of like in the previous titles. And it's pretty awesome. I really like the boss fights in this game. The mini bosses are pretty awesome. There's some platforming. There's kind of like a little bit of everything in this game. It really kind of reminds me of Diablo, but with Spyro, and I think that's awesome, and I feel like that's something, again, a lot of people would really like. It doesn't really cater to a very specific group of people. I think this is a very good classic Spyro game. Spyro is also a very lovable character.
Right.
The side character, Cinder's super lovable as well. She's
Mm-hmm.
feisty, she's cool, a little edgy. So I think this is a good classic game that everyone should play as well. I would personally give this game an 8 out of 10. The only reason I give it a lower rating than the previous two is because I do remember it being very frustrating at a certain point because if you don't, NPCs at this time weren't exactly the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
This game came out in 2008. Um, if you don't have another person to play with, the computer might be a
Oh
little a
no.
little angering. Yeah, the computer might make you want to punch it really hard, but
Dawn of the Dragon, the greatest Legend of Spyro spin-off game that you've never heard of.
100% no one's ever heard of, but you should play it. And so the next game that I want to talk about, pretty classic series as well, is Tomb Raider Legend. Now, this is the best Tomb Raider game. I don't care what anyone could say. This is the classic Lara Croft game. So this is this is the best Lara Croft game that I have seen because I think it embodies Lara Croft to a T, despite being written by men, which is weird because typically men are like, "Ooh, I'm
Yeah,
a woman."
usually, there's lots of posts you can find on Twitter, Reddit, everything like that, just showing some of the awesome ways that men describe women in their writing.
Right, and I think that the levels in this game are incredible. The puzzles are so intricate. I think that it engages with the player enough that you can feel like Laura Croft. Like I don't know. I found myself when I played this game super engaging. This was released in 2006. I definitely played this a little bit later. I probably played more towards like 2010, 2011. But this is one of those games that I feel like no one ever talks about. I was really disappointed at the time when they came out with the newest Lara Croft from like I don't even know 2013 or
She
something.
was pretty cute in that game, though.
So cute, but
She's
she was
super
so
cute.
boring. Like she wasn't Lara Croft. Well, I remember listening to her voice lines. She was super like she was weak like the whole
Yeah,
beginning of the
disclaimer,
game.
I did not actually play it. I
Oh,
just
okay.
remember seeing her and,
I
heart
played a
eyes.
demo of the game, and the whole beginning of the game was really frustrating because she's so useless. And I feel like in any situation in the Lara Croft Tomb Raider Legend game, she's never useless. She always finds a way out. So I definitely think this is probably the best embodiment of what I think Lara Croft is meant to be. Super awesome storyline, really creative in terms of gaining outfits and fighting the enemies in this game are pretty awesome. I think the final, I guess you would call it boss battle, um, is incredible. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. I actually replayed it when I was younger, which is very uncommon for me, and I definitely say this is one of those games that everyone should play. And not enough people talked about this game. It's a very good classic. 10 out of 10. The graphics are that of PS2, so expect that
Yeah,
if
be
you are going
warned.
to play it again. Yeah, be warned. It's not too bad. It's not triangle tits, but it is close to it.
We evolved past triangle tits, everyone.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a definitely 10 out of 10. Would definitely play that game again if I had the chance to. And for our last game, which I have the highest remarks for, and I'm going to say it is the best Final Fantasy game ever
This
made.
is a game that once you start talking about, you cannot be stopped.
Oh,
I could
literally cannot
tell
be
every
stopped.
time you
We
talk
only have
about
like
this
5
game.
minutes left, and I'm upset.
Every time you talk about this game, I can tell that it's pretty much your favorite game of all time.
Oh, of all time. So Final Fantasy 3, the 3DS remake is in fucking incredible. Okay, this game gets me hype. This game gets me hype for friends. Uh, friendship is magic type shit. Like I'm telling you,
Yeah.
the the storyline in this game is so amazing. You really fall in love with the characters. They're very well fleshed out. You know, you've got 4 orphans going on a journey to rebalance the earth, okay, between light and dark. And the fighting system in this game is a turn-based system. It's really hard. You know, you get to certain points. There's the Tower of Owen for me, which I struggled a lot with when I first played the game.
Mhm.
It's such a good narrative driven game, and I've played other Final Fantasies. I just could never get into it the way that this game got me into it. The music, everything about this game is fantastically curated. Even when you open the game, the animation sequence that plays in the menu, absolutely astonishing. I've
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this was the first Final Fantasy to introduce the job system, wasn't it?
Correct. Yes. So the job system was is a little shaky in this game, but it's really awesome because you can choose pretty much any party. You're not restricted in your party. Like your characters aren't restricted to a job. So you can change. You can freely change. The only thing is you do have to if you change that class, they can learn multiple jobs. If you change that class, they do have to re-level that up. So say that your white mage is like a level 40 and you want to change her to I don't know like a thief, right? You're gonna have to re-level that up, and it does take some time. I've clocked 80 hours into this
Mm.
game because I like to 100% it. I actually try to play it once a year because it means that much to me. It's such a good game. Genuinely don't think there will be any other game like this ever created ever again. It's really upsetting because Final Fantasy is one of the most amazing, most popular game series that you know Square Enix has. So
Yeah. And um, I actually have seen that on Steam you can actually purchase a bundle that comes with Final Fantasy 1 through 6. Um, these are the remastered versions of the games, and I looked at the reviews for 3 specifically, and everyone has nothing but praise for it. They say this is the best version of Final Fantasy 3 that you can play. The job system is rebalanced, everything like that. So yeah, it definitely makes me want to check it out for sure.
yeah, if you're a huge JRPG fan, genuinely this should be on that list. There's another game that we can talk about at another time, but that I actually really want to bring up because it's also of this era. I think that brings the same energy, not as well in terms of music and or art or characters really, but this game genuinely captured my heart. I remember my mom getting it for me from a pawn shop for like $4 and I played the fuck out of this game. Definitely 2000 out of 10. If you are a Final Fantasy fan, if you're an RPG fan, JRPG fan, this is a game that you should have played by now. So,
Well, that seems like
yeah.
as good as a preview for the next episode that we're gonna get.
Yeah.
So, thank you everyone for tuning into this episode of Eggs for Dessert.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Check us out on Twitter at Dessert Eggs and follow us on YouTube at Eggs for Dessert Podcast to keep up to date on Eggs for Dessert news. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.